Well, it was a little more than a month ago in Stade de France on a memorable day in Paris that Greg Stewart successfully defended his Paralympic shot put title. What a day it was. I had a front row seat to it just like I did in Tokyo. It's good to be Greg these days. And it's wonderful to see you, Greg Stewart. How are you? A newly married man.
I'd show it on my other hand, but we know how that goes. So I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Yeah,
Listen,
thank you.
I saw your beautiful post on Instagram that if somebody would have told you a year ago that you would have successfully defended Paralympic gold and married the woman of your dreams in the same span of time, you would have said, in the same month? How did you pull this off?
Well, that's the exciting and interesting thing about being in a relationship is it takes two. Uh, Taylor did a phenomenal job of supporting me this past year on training for the games and whatnot, and vice versa. Me supporting her. We don't want to say that the wedding is for the lady, but Taylor plays a big role in it. And for me, it was just more being there with her and having our friends and family support us throughout that journey. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. But yeah, putting those together, like within like a 2.5, 3 week span was, I'm literally just coming down from it today. So today's been a rough start.
Greg, I saw the matching gold medals. I'm imagining you defending your title in Paris was so that you had some symmetry in that photo. So Taylor could wear a gold and you could wear a gold. Was that the motivation? I know it wasn't, but how did you do this and how difficult was it to defend Paralympic gold?
Well, to start, I would just say that today I've been feeling very vulnerable, and I think it's just because of what the last 4 or 5 weeks have looked like. But the last year that led up to these last 4 or 5 weeks, again, I'm going to go back to this. Sport is such a vulnerable thing. We're so consistently putting ourselves through failure. Like, hey, like I want to get better. In order for me to get better, I have to succumb to failure. I have to make mistakes, all of that. And we're just constantly doing that. And then to add the wedding to it, like, you have all your friends, your family, you're committing to somebody for the rest of your life. But not only that, you're committing to yourself that when things become really, really challenging, when you're struggling, we don't have any kids yet, but when the kids are in play and we're just feeling exhausted and all that, that we're committed to getting through that hard part.
Hmm.
And it's just like, I'm like coming down from it. I'm like, oh man, multiple times today. I'm like, man, I just need to have a good cry because it's time. But defending that title was like, I still couldn't tell you. I have figured this out. If I had a second child, I would know how it feels. Because winning that first one in Tokyo was incredible and such an unbelievable experience. But winning the second one is like I'm not trying to say this to be egotistical or selfish or anything like that, but it's kind of old hat in a way because
Hmm.
I've experienced this before.
Hmm.
But it comes with a whole different set of rules or values now, and I'm still trying to understand them because
Yeah.
leading up to my competition, like it was brutal. It
Well,
was a brutal.
I wanted to pick up on that because you have shared, in keeping with vulnerability, how there was some imposter syndrome going on, how you were a bit of a wreck in the days leading up to that competition. So in one hand, Greg, I hear you saying it's old hat, it was within your body and you knew what to do on the day and to perform, but it sounds like just getting to the day, getting into the circle was the hardest part. And thank goodness for Penny, your sports psychologist, who seemingly got you in the right headspace. So just take me a little bit through that journey.
Well, showing up is usually the hardest part.
Mm.
Like you can show up, and even if you do 50%, like you're already there. So you might as well put in the work. Um, yeah, I remember sitting in the village and sitting down with Penny and just being like, like, I don't know how I'm feeling. Like everything is going off right now. And the biggest thing that I'm like struggling with is that I could potentially win again.
Wow.
But I'm terrified. I don't like, I would rather lose because if I lost, then I wouldn't have to have this feeling that I'm like good enough again.
Hmm.
Like it's such a weird concept, man. I tell you, mindfulness is I love practicing it, but man, does it also change your viewpoint on things?
No
And
kidding.
imposter syndrome is real. Like we all want to achieve great things. We all want to, uh, experience greatness. But I think half the time we're terrified to
Hmm.
experience that greatness because we just don't know what it looks like.
Well,
And
you
now it's
show.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say. I mean, you've showed up on the day twice now. You're a Paralympic two times over. Talk about cramming it all in, getting married, and the Paralympics within the span of a few weeks. And then you didn't take a break, Greg. You went into this Green Sports Day because I know you love to be busy. Tell me what this was all about because it sounds like there's a serious conversation around climate change, how it's affecting the sports world, and what athletes want to do about it.
100%. So, trust, ownership, and integrity play a very vital role in our everyday lives. They play a vital role in competitions, everything like that. But they actually play an even bigger role, I'm finding now, more in our environment. Um, and why I say that is whether you throw a piece of garbage onto the ground and don't pick it up, it ends up somewhere, typically in our oceans. Um, these giant companies, corporations are creating like crazy ozone issues, all that. Climate change is real, in my opinion. And if you were to look at when we competed in Tokyo and when we competed in Paris, like it was hot, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
acclimatization is real as well as hydration. And leading up to the games, like we literally with our coaches was, what is your hydration plan? Like, how are you going to ensure that you're not going to overheat, that you're getting enough electrolytes, that you're getting in enough water, so that when competition day shows up, presents itself, that you're able to compete and not feel exhausted, not feel dehydrated, like all of that. And it's only getting worse. It's only getting hotter out there. You look at the Olympians that were competing, we're lucky on the Paralympic side because we're like 2 weeks to a month later. So the temperatures are dropping. It's still hot,
Mm-hmm.
but there's so much more you have to take into account when you're going to compete. It's not just like a typical warm weather day anymore. It's like, okay, it's really, really hot. How do we change that? And so Green Sports Day Canada just had a really all week last week just talking about the effects that are going on, and they wanted to include a couple of Olympians and Paralympians talking about our experiences and how climate is changing the way we train.
Yeah, and no doubt, Greg, it is going to be a continuing conversation and one that'll be in the limelight for many months and years to come. As we wind down, and I always love our time together, you have shared so much of yourself and your journey about what you believe sport can be. And I think we're seeing a shift in the hearts and minds of Canadians and understanding what it could be. But what would you want people to know about your journey and what sport fundamentally could be in people's lives? Because I love the joy you bring into the stadiums you compete in. And I believe, having watched you, it has allowed you to be great. So, how about that? Greatness and fun coexisting in sport.
Well, I appreciate that. So thank you. Um, it's it's lit. I want to say it's simple. Just be in the moment, right? Like that's all we are trying to. Like I had multiple people be like, "Man, you were like shaking, volunteers' hands during your competition. You were chatting with your other competitors during your competition. Like, how come you're not zoned in?" And I'm like, "I am zoned in, but I can only control that 1 minute that I throw. So that other time, I don't want to sit in that place of, oh, that last one wasn't a good throw or this guy threw further or anything like that. That doesn't play a role. So what does play a role is, hey, thank you for devoting your time to these Paralympic Games and making them such a huge success, right? These people are volunteering, 2 weeks, a month worth of work to just support athletes to be their best. Why not support them? It goes both ways. And so I think for me, it was just enjoying that moment, taking that all in, because I think we often just get too caught up in what it's supposed to look like versus what is actually going on there. And so I think it's fun is fun, and it can be enjoyable if you allow yourself to kind of be in that moment. And it's something that I like to talk a lot about. It's what I do when I'm doing my motivational talks and I'm speaking to schools and I'm speaking to corporations. It's just like, hey, like you can be a really incredible person by, being in a place of trust, being in a place of ownership and integrity, and great things happen. And I feel that doing those things creates a life of joy, but most importantly, it creates a life of love. And I think that's what we all want.
A perfect spot to end it. Two-time Paralympic champion, newly married. Like I said, it's good to be Greg these days. Take it easy. Congratulations. I always appreciate your time, Greg Stewart.
Devin, thank you, and congratulations on your recognition here this past month as well. So well earned and well deserved, and continue to support, the athlete voice and whatnot in your reporting skills, because absolutely incredible. And seeing you in the Louvre there that one day, and seeing you just bringing a lot more smiles and enjoyment to all of Canada is a pretty incredible thing. So thanks again for doing what you're doing.
In typical Greg Stewart style, one to deflect always. I appreciate you, Greg. Thank you.